1, 2, 3, 4.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Indian River County Hospital District Board of Trustees regular monthly meeting. We'd like to call on our Executive Director, Frank Isley, for an invocation.
Thank you. If we could all bow our heads, please. Gracious God, we gather today with gratitude for the opportunity to serve this community. Bless this board, our staff, and our partners with wisdom, clarity, and compassion as we make decisions that impact the health and well-being of our neighbors. Guide us to listen with open hearts, to act with integrity, and to remain steadfast in our commitment to ensuring care for those most in need. May our work today reflect not only good stewardship, but also hope for a healthier, stronger future for Indian River County. Grant us patience in our discussions, courage in our decisions, and unity in our purpose. We ask for your blessing upon this meeting and upon all those we serve. Amen.
Amen. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Let's move on with our agenda. We have a consent agenda related to meetings in July, as well as approval of our August disbursement.
I would make a motion to accept.
Second.
And there's a second. Any discussion or correction of the minutes? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. We'll move on with our reports. First of all, there's the chairman, myself, William Cooney, reporting on 3 areas of interest in this past month since our last meeting. First of all, we've had a great outpouring of maternal support. That is for the maternity and labor and delivery and child support within Indian River County. I'd like to thank Shannon Cox for her excellent work along with Frank. They had 3 town meetings, which were well attended.
So Alan and Simpson, I know that you.
Sorry, it was someone on Zoom. I got him.
Okay. As well as a report from Steve Accor, survey report. They were both well attended in response and were very similar in their outcomes, demonstrating a clear message. Save maternity, save labor and delivery within our county, and support Healthy Start. So thank you very much once again for that excellent effort. And I think the message within Indian River County is we need to maintain maternity services here with a gathering of all the support sponsors and all those interested in it, including Indian River Hospital. My second message is to thank Carrie Bartlett, who's not here, for all her work along with Jennifer Fredericks related to our budgeting process and the EC impact. We had very fruitful discussions, unlocked areas of concern regarding the budgeting process, as this is a new year, a new way of dealing with this. Excellent engagement of our staff in healthcare and an engaged board, as many like to say, in charge, but they can't do it alone without the excellent effort of our staff. There are some differences of opinion. There's different spending levels, different views on the millage rate, but I think the board is working all together and holding reserves as they are and moving forward. We have to remember that we are a taxing authority through our special act, and that provides for opportunities to help the citizens of our county through taxing. Finally, let me comment on the substitution agreement and report that Jennifer Pesky placed out. As you may recall, in 2018, we transferred or substituted Cleveland Clinic Indian River Hospital and Cleveland Clinic Florida Enterprise for Indian River Hospital. We provided them lease agreements for many years, I think 75 years in total. And in return, we transferred care of the Indian population to Cleveland Clinic. We have a lease agreement that's very important, but it's also important, as Mrs. Pesky noted, that we have lots of opportunity within our substitution agreement to provide direction, oversight, and guidance to Indian River County Hospital, Cleveland Clinic, and their Cleveland Clinic Enterprise. Good relationship exists with our executive director, Frank Isley, and their chief of staff, Dr. Rick Rothman, meeting almost daily. And so we're in very good communication with Indian River Hospital. And finally, it's important to recognize that maternity, once again, is important. And as we look forward to fundraising for this effort and providing money to make it go forward, in my view, this is support of mothers and children and infants. It's not support of Indian River Cleveland Clinic Hospital. And I think that is a defining action, that it is for our citizens that we would move forward with some type of disbursement from the hospital district. So thank you very much. Let me now move on to our council and ask Jennifer Pesky for her report.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, it's been another busy month with the district. Summer used to be a slow time, but not anymore for anything, it seems. With the district and our community in general, there's just a lot going on out there, but that's good. So as you all are starting to be familiar with, our monthly meeting packets now contain a copy of Form 8B, which is statutory memorandum of voting conflict. And as we've apprised, if a conflict does arise in a meeting where you need to recuse yourself, we're going to go ahead and fill out that form, and we'll have that on record for the meeting along with the minutes. The attorney's overview is also included with our monthly packet. I'm not going to read it out loud, but it is there for our review and use, as well as the public's, as far as our practice and procedures in conducting our meetings and in conducting public comment. So please do reference that. We've also begun to work on a project to review your bylaws and bring forward some amendments in the coming months that we think are needed based on some of the changes and policies we've adopted this year. So we're working on that, and we'll be bringing that forward for your review and hopefully adoption more towards the end of the calendar year when we feel that we're ready to do that and you're comfortable with it. We've also sent some correspondence this past month to VCOM to request a status update on their acquisition of the space that they're leasing from us in the Human Services Building. A copy of that correspondence is attached to my report. And then following approval at last month's meeting, a letter went to the St. John's Water Management District at the request of the VNA, which the request was to allow access to the existing retention ponds on the land the district owns adjacent to the parcel the VNA purchased from the district. So at this time, that letter has gone out, and as of yesterday, Frank did receive confirmation from St. John's Water Management District that they had received our correspondence. They are reviewing it internally. They had assigned 2 permit application reviewers to it and provided even a secondary reviewer to provide support. So the email was just simply to let us know that they had our request and they've got it in queue to review. We don't have a response by any means at all, just that they acknowledged receipt. And that was received about a month after our request went out. Following last month's meeting, we also researched the provisions at your request in the special act regarding the latitude for funding by the board. That memo is attached to my report as well. And finally, we also were asked to review, as you're in your budget funding cycle, whether the board can commit future funding beyond the present board term. We summarized those findings in a memo that's also attached to my report. Essentially, you certainly can commit funding beyond the present board term, but our recommendation was that you follow your funding agreement, which is an annual funding agreement, 1 year at a time. And certainly you can do things like you'd like to do, but the board's starting to put in place with sunsetting things over a period of time. There's nothing wrong with that, but we just need to make sure that we're following what the funding agreements do say as well. Does anyone have questions about this? I know I've given you
Thank you,
enough
Jennifer.
information this month.
Anyone on the trustees? Okay. Thank you once again, and your able associates. Okay, let's move on to our financial report from Michael Kent, our treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In reviewing the hospital district's financial position 10 months into the fiscal year, I'm very pleased to be able to report the district's financial situation continues to be very strong. For the usual overview of the financial statements, let's please turn to the last 4 pages of the financial packet or the financial update you received in your meeting packet. And we'll start as usual by reviewing the district's investment in cash snapshot. That's 4 pages from the end. At the top of the page, you'll see that at the end of July, the district had received $21,307,779 of our anticipated ad valorem taxes. That amount actually exceeds our budgeted amount by 0.7%. And I think, in fact, I might be wrong, but as I was working off of last month's statement and adding new numbers, that number's the same. I think it's the first month in my tenure, which is coming up on 3 years, that we didn't even get a penny in income from the tax collector. There's usually drips and drabs in the last couple of months, but we didn't get anything this year. So that number matches what you saw a month ago. Section 1 on this sheet shows you that the district's U.S. Treasury holdings as of July 31st totaled $8,165,525. Those T-bills are listed. You can see the maturity dates are staggered monthly through December, and the average interest rate on those T-bills is 4.268%. Section 2 details our holdings in the preferred deposit pool, that's the money market account, and you'll see that at the end of last month, it held $3,809,214. It shows it earning 4.27%. And then Section 3 shows at the end of July, the district's local operating account was holding $358,913. That's actually smaller than normal. I'm sure dollars had to be transferred subsequent to this because we had bills to pay this month. Altogether, though, 10 months into the fiscal year, July 31st, the district's investment in cash holdings totaled $12,333,652. That's $12,333,652. The next 3 pages is the year-to-date expenses versus budget spreadsheet. You'll note in the header in the second and third columns that if we were paying out reimbursements evenly over the past 10 months, all expenses for our community partners and their programs would be at 83.3%. And as usual, you will see deviations both above and below that percentage, almost all of which we've talked about in the past few months. And as you know, if you've looked ahead on the agenda, and I can't imagine you haven't, you know there are a couple of our community partners who are present tonight who will be seeking additional funding from the district to cover programs through the end of the fiscal year. They're running hot. On the middle of the last page, you'll see that the total for all program expenses through July was $14,998,162, which represents 79.35% of the approved total program budget. And the bottom half, that last page shows the district's administrative expenses. And you'll see the expenses totaled through 3 months, $1,046,607. And that equates to 78.46% of the approved budget. So combining program and admin, our total expenses for 10 months was $16,044,769, which equals 79.29% of the budget. And as a comparison, I always had that last line 1 year ago, last fiscal year, at the 10-month mark, our total expenses were at 81.88%. And Mr. Chairman, that concludes my report, but I'd be happy to answer any questions the trustees might have or attempt to.
Dr. Mackett, question?
Yes, thank you for that report, Michael. Um, My question is really just to get a confirmation of what our projected interest and dividends will be in the upcoming budget year. There was a question raised yesterday at the chairman's meeting during public comment, questioning whether the placeholder of $600,000 for interest and dividends was accurately reflecting the current interest and dividends that we are getting. And as I reviewed the financial information in detail, it looks like we are trending to exceed that this year. So in my mind, it appears that the placeholder in the budget for 600,000 is more than appropriate.
And I will first defer to Mr. Isley, who really did the legwork. And on a routine basis, day after day, he's been revising the budget that we ultimately saw yesterday.
I'm happy to speak to that. With the interest rates are to some degree out of our control. And so depending on what the Fed decides to do could markedly change our investment performance, because we have select investments that we can invest in, and you know, we're limited to those. So anticipating another couple reductions in the federal funds rate between now and the end of the year, 600, that ballpark makes sense, especially because if we start going in lowering the Fed funds rate, if the Fed decides to do that, it changes our investments significantly. So if this year we're on track, I've budgeted 600 for next year, could be 700, or it could be 550. But I wanted to put in a number that was going to be safe.
Two things I was going to add. One, I didn't take a hard look at it after the meeting and was going to perhaps review it with the Finance and Audit Committee before next month. But the bottom line is, I'm not sure that he took into consideration the fact, I referenced that in the month of July, we didn't get any income from the taxpayer, county property. Say it, Michael. We didn't get any money from the county because citizens in this county, to the tune of 90+%, pay their taxes mostly by December. Much of it's in by November. So I'm not sure that he necessarily was taking into consideration the fact that when you're anticipating $22, $23 million, that the bulk of it is there early on and is at work for us month after month. It was a legitimate point to raise. Anybody can speak to a proposed budget, but I'm going to dig a little bit deeper. But I felt pretty comfortable with what that number was based on my conversations with Frank, and we'll drill down a little bit too.
Yeah, thank you both. I think that that's a very good estimate for the next budget year.
Thank you.
I have one question, Michael, and in your first page of your report, it mentions in the second sentence, 1.2 million in commissions and uncollectible taxes. Could you clarify exactly what that reflects?
Well, everybody can do the math when we select the millage and take it against when we're given the property values, it gives us a number. But all the taxes are paid to the county, and there are assessments made against them by both the property appraiser and the, help me, what am I missing?
Property appraiser and tax collector.
Tax collector.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So they're
So-
between
so
1
those
and
are
3%.
commissions.
They change with the millage.
Yeah, and if we make any adjustments, they automatically adjust
Correct.
in the budget that we've got. But those are the dollars that go to them, and then we have a working amount that's left for us that's coming to the district to be used for our purposes.
Yeah, it's about 1.4 million a year.
So that's county property taxes for all the buildings and homes and so on in the county. There's nothing to do with any property we have.
No,
Yes.
no.
Not at all.
Great. Thank you. Any other questions for our excellent treasurer, Michael Kent? Which reminds me, is Alan Jones on on the,
Yes, I am. I'm on, Bill.
okay, we just want to be sure you're here if you have any comments.
And I think Michael Kent's presentation and answer to that question was exceptional.
Thank you. Okay, let's move on now to our executive director report. Frank Isley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I've talked enough for the past couple days. You have my report. I submitted it to you. And Jennifer provided the update on VCOM. So what I want to do a couple things. Part of our team, some of the folks on our team, I'd like to give a report out on a couple follow-up items and just highlight a couple important things that they're working on. But Mr. Chairman, in addition to what you just shared, thanking the team, I want to thank the team as well. They were able to successfully pull together the 3 town halls and complete a countywide survey in 3 weeks. So Shannon Cox was responsible for the town halls and Caitlin Dickens managed the survey. And the whole team was part of the process in getting this done. But I would just want to commend them for their exceptional performance in getting that done. We needed it done in 3 weeks. They got it done in 3 weeks exceptionally well. So I want to congratulate them for that. They're going to give us some updates. So why don't we, Shannon, why don't you go ahead and start?
Sure, thank you. So Dawn and I have begun to begin the audit process for fiscal year 23-24, including notices to the first round of agencies based on their fiscal year end. So that includes 8 agencies. One agency has already submitted all required documentation and has scheduled their on-site visit well ahead of schedule, so we very much appreciate that. With 5 more agencies pending document submission and on-site visit scheduling, and then 2 had requested an extension, which were granted. Extensions were granted to agencies that are currently in good standing with the district funding agreements that are undergoing their internal audit to alleviate additional pressure on the agencies. Additionally, Dawn, myself, and Jenny continue to meet on a regular basis to discuss the performance review of the hospital district, and I'll be reporting out on the progress of this to the board regularly beginning in October. As a result of the review, trustees can expect to see policies for trustee approval driven by the recommendations in the near future. Trustees can also expect lengthy discussion regarding the second recommendation, as guidance from the trustees will be needed to satisfy the complex recommendation. The next performance review will be in 2028, and all recommendations will need to have shown progress to satisfaction or will be returned as findings on the next review. If there are any trustees that still require a copy of the review, please let me know and I'll be happy to disperse accordingly.
Thank you, Shannon. Appreciate that. Caitlin, if you please.
Yeah.
All right. All right, can everyone see the screen?
Hold on, let me
Oh.
do it on Zoom.
One sec.
Looks good right now.
Yeah, I need to do it on Zoom so everybody can see on Zoom. Give me 1 second. Okay, there we go. Okay.
Okay. All right. So following all of the maternity discussions we've been having, all of the town halls and the survey that we did, we wanted to make sure all of that information was going to be accessible by the public as well. Because we heard a lot from the town halls that people were interested in following up, hearing more, kind of seeing what happens with all of this information. So we wanted to make sure everyone would be able to access it. So where there was information about the town halls on our website, now there is a link for people to go to a page that has kind of a summary of everything we've been doing. So it gives kind of a short little breakdown. All of the town halls were recorded and posted on YouTube. So if anyone wants to watch, they can click the link. It will take them to YouTube and they can watch any of the town halls. Then we've included both of the surveys. So the town hall survey as well as the Clearview survey. They can go and look at the results for both of them. The post-town hall survey is the same one that you guys got in your packet. It is done with the same program I've been using to create the dashboards. It is kind of interactive on here too. If you want to play around with it, you can click on what different demographics responded,
whether people were, more likely to support it. You can see what their responses were to the other questions. It is a pretty small sample size, so I wouldn't say anything is going to be too statistically significant, but I think it's pretty interesting, as well as the breakdown of each location can kind of show you how people answered. Can I move this somewhere? There we go. Okay, so that will pop up in a new page if anyone wants to look, and the public can look at that. The Clearview results are also linked, so that will come up as well for any of the public if they want to see the results of the overall telephone survey. And then again, we heard a lot of feedback that people wanted to stay informed, keep finding out what's happening. So we've included a submission form to collect names and email addresses of anyone else that's interested. I know Shannon already has sent out a couple emails following up with everyone from the town hall. And so we're going to try and keep everyone aware of what's going on, invite them to come to meetings. If we're going to talk about it, keep them updated so that any of the public that was at a town hall or watches any of these can stay updated and find out what's going on. So, any questions?
I think it's remarkable that you have that in such a short time period.
I'm
Have
totally
these events.
impressed. Thank you.
Very impressed, yes. You can get that just going to the hospital district website and it'll identify.
Yep, and the banner's right at the top on the home screen, so you can't really miss it. Yeah.
Excellent. I have some doubters I want to send this to, so.
Okay.
I have sort of a non sequitur. I'm just curious. I needed to remind myself a statement that was made at one of them, even though I was there.
Mhm.
And my question is, did we use our owl? Is that,
We did use.
I was amazed. I was straining to hear, particularly at the third meeting, everything that was said. That little beast just picked everything up.
Mhm.
Because
Yeah, it's
what-
awesome.
When I went back, I mean, loud as could be. I mean, it's a good little device and
Mhm.
wanted to say that, so you know that. I guess you do know
Mhm.
that. So when we're in that kind of setting, in terms of recording what we were doing, it worked magnificently.
Good.
Apart from the surveys and was there very much email activity that the office received?
No. Other than Shannon did send out, as folks came into the town halls, they put their name and their email. So after that, folks wanted to know what was going on this week at the chairman. So I did ask her to send out an email to let people know about the chairman's meeting and that we would have further discussion on maternity. Other than that, I don't think there were any emails, correct? All right, Caitlin, thank you very much for that. Excellent. And I turn to Kate Voss.
Hello.
Kate, if you would,
Press-
please give us an update on.
One update for you all. I know we haven't talked much about 10th Street property, but please know Frank and I are still moving forward with the plans on that. So on September 10th, we will convene a stakeholder meeting to introduce the letter of intent process for the future operations of the property. Representatives from Thrive, the Mental Health Collaborative, Dynamic Life, and Pure Health and Wellness have been invited to participate. Following the meeting, interested agencies will have 30 days to submit their letters of intent to the district for initial staff review. Staff will then provide the Board of Trustees with the documents and any recommendations. And by the end of October, we're hoping to maybe have some trustee discussion in November to make some final recommendations and decisions. Any questions you can get with Frank and I.
Frank, do you want to mention Pure Health and Wellness at this time or at a later date when you're in more detail?
No, I think what would be great, we'll have the meeting next week. We'll gather information, we'll inform everyone, and then we'll go from there. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Excellent. Thank you, because it's a great plan.
Thank you, Kate. And as always, I'd like to finish with an impact story. Appropriately, this one has to do with Hope for Families. Yeah. Well, you did send it to me. So, so this is Nikki's story we're going to share. Nikki's bright smile gives the little hint of the challenges she faced. Her journey reflects both the resilience of the human spirit and the life-changing impact of compassionate support. Raised between Northeast Ohio and Florida, Nikki grew up in a turbulent home where stability was never guaranteed. That instability followed her into adulthood, compounded by a traumatic assault that left her struggling to cope. Alcohol and substance use became her escape. Everything changed when she learned she was pregnant. She gave birth to her son, Christian, named for the nurse who showed her kindness during the delivery. But just hours later, she faced the devastating reality of seeing him placed in foster care. Determined to reclaim her life, Nikki entered the Counseling and Recovery Center's Families in Transition residential program, where she received intensive support while remaining with her child. Through hard work and commitment, she regained full custody of Christian after 7 months. Her next step brought her to the Hope for Families Center. Here, Nikki found safe housing, structured support, and the tools to rebuild. 17 months sober, she now works at Walmart, owns her own vehicle, pays her bills, and is steadily working toward long-term independence. Already a college graduate with degrees in business and healthcare management, she is determined to create a secure future for her son. Nikki's motivation is clear. This is her quote. "I knew the moment I held him that no one else could raise him," she shared. Every choice she makes to ensure Christian grows up safe, supported, and deeply loved. The Hope for Families Center exists to change lives like Nikki's. Funding from the Indian River County Hospital District helps ensure that families in crisis have access to health care, counseling, and recovery service resources they need to heal, transforming moments of crisis into new beginnings for parents and children alike. That concludes my report. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much, Frank. Excellent. Well, then timely, we can move from that report on to a semi-annual report from the Executive Director of the Hope for Families Center, Marty McCurdo. And if you have a chance, Marty, you can introduce your team and special guest with the helmet.
No, messes up my bangs. I can't. So good afternoon, evening. I'm Marty Mercado. I'm the Executive Director at the Hope for Families Center. Behind me is my fabulous team, just a portion of them. So April is our newest case manager. She's been with us about 4 days, so she's learning. Lindsay is our development director. Stephanie is our director of case management, as well as our patient navigator and child case manager. Molly is really our CFO, but she won't take that title. And then we got Brian. If you had any specific questions about the construction that's going on that I cannot answer, we've been working collaboratively with Proctor for our build, and that's why I brought our visual so you all could see. We all have hard hats in the office to go out there. We're not allowed to go out there without a hard hat. So at Hope for Families Center, we're definitely seeing a shift in the residents that we are serving. We're seeing residents with extremely high trauma, with incredibly low credit scores, with very high debt, and with several different obstacles in their way to get the support they need. We've been doing more crisis management over the past 2 or 3 weeks than I've seen since I've been here. I'm not quite sure why. I always try to track these kind of phenomenons that pull up. A couple years ago, if you remember, I was saying we were seeing, right after COVID, we were seeing an increase of very large families with 9, 6, 7, 8, 9 kids. So as we move forward, while our numbers are staying high with our kids going to school, we are having a little bit of a problem with daycare because sometimes the daycares are full or there's not space for a newborn. And we're doing really well with our primary care physicians, making sure that they get the resources they need for doctors. We're doing really great with our maternal aspect of what we do at Hope for Families Center. We work heavily with Healthy Start. They're extremely helpful. And if you noted the one story that I related in our report, we were blessed with twins this last reporting period. And unfortunately, it was very scary. We did not think they were going to live. And they are blind. Both of them are blind. But they were able to stay with us while the children were in NICU. And then they were able to receive the support they need to move forward to become sustainable. So those children were not taken from their parents. But our struggle now is helping people in the ALICE population, especially that to save money and to get out of the debt that they are in. So we have, we're working really hard with our financial literacy piece, and really trying to, it doesn't matter how much money they save. If they have a credit score of 430, what was the lowest we've seen? Very low, very low. They're not going to even be able to rent a house. And we're also seeing, we were only able to place 27% of our residents last year in what I call a sustainable situation, because of lack of affordable housing. So we've been working with our residents to pay down their debt, to work on some education pieces if they don't have their GED, to get their GED. If they're interested in going to college, making sure they're getting over into Indian River College, and making them sustainable so that when they leave, their credit score is higher. They're able to even get an apartment, and then they're able to continually save moving forward. I only think it's going to get worse. And so we've been looking at our case management protocol and how we're going to work with that. But as far as healthcare wise, we're still a safe place for our pregnant mothers that we see a lot of babies. They all are doing really well. They're all very healthy. And it's because of the support of our patient navigator, making sure that they're getting to their appointments that they need to get to, and that they're receiving the support that they need. Our children are being actively engaged with any kind of medical support that they need. We are seeing a high trend of children with autism, and we work heavily with the schools to help make sure that they get the support they need. That means sometimes the shelter is very loud. And we're also seeing great success with our children at school. As far as our build out goes, gotta watch the time. As far as our build out goes, if you haven't driven by, I highly encourage you to drive by. All 3 buildings are standing. We're going to move into the admin building in the middle of this month, September. We're waiting. Right now, we're all packed into small shelter rooms. There are offices, so it's really loud. It's hard to get our work done. And all the children now know that we're in there, and they know which doors we're behind. So they knock and try to get in. And then we're supposed to be totally finished and moved in by mid-October, right? Yes. Okay, you guys all heard him. After that is taken place, we'll be moving in furniture. We've had furniture donated. All the rooms have been supplied beds. We'll be using bunk beds so that we can get 4 in a room. And we'll be working with Habitat for their restore to furnish our apartments. We will, once we get the final permitting and get everything settled in the building furniture-wise, we'll start moving people in the old shelter if they're ready to move out and they just can't find a space. We'll move those into the new shelter. They're very excited. And then we'll be taking applications from our current residents that are ready to move out to move into the transitional apartments where they'll be able to stay for a year. Then as we shift, we will expand 25% every quarter, just so that the staff doesn't lose their mind. So once we get the final permitting and the furniture's all set up, first 3 months we'll increase our numbers by 25%. Second 3 months will be 50, third 75, and so on. And that's just to make sure that we work out any bugs, any security issues that we may have, because the buildings are not joined. So it's going to make some security strategy that we're going to have to look at. We will be fully camered, and we will be hiring more staff, but not too many more. It's kind of all cohesive. The people that are living in the apartments will be totally on their own. So they'll be providing their own food and doing their own thing. Any questions?
Any questions for Marty? I have one. What is the transitional unit? What does that mean?
Transitional apartments are for people that need just a little more time. If, for example, we've had residents come in that have 4 or 5 evictions on their background and nobody's going to rent to them. So we are going to charge them a small program fee so that they get used to paying rent every month. And they'll be able to stay a little bit longer, and they'll continue to receive case management, not as intensive as that was when they first get in there. But our hopes and goal is to make them just a little more sustainable. We learned this lesson probably about 4 years ago. We had a mom that just was ready to go, and she left too early, and was not successful. And actually her child got taken from her and was placed in foster care. So this gives them a little more time. And we have a young lady in there right now. She absolutely has no family. She doesn't have a mother. She doesn't have a father. And so if they come in high crisis like this young lady did, we're able to support them a little bit longer and be their family unit for a little while they continue to mature and grow. She's only 20 years old and has a child. So our goal is with that transitional piece is to make sure that they have the resources they need to transition out a little bit longer to be sustainable and to have the confidence they need to move forward.
Thank you. Any other questions? Marty?
Just a data question, I just saw 61% are female, 39%. It basically suggests that 2 out of 3 families that come to you are single parent families.
Yes.
Is that kind of the norm? I
Yes.
presume that, but I wanted to ask. The other thing that crossed my mind, and I'm going back 15 years at least. We had a run, everybody had a run on folks that were really in bad financial straits, and we were steering people anywhere we could.
Mhm.
At that time, there was, although it was limited in scope, consumer credit counseling. I think
Mhm.
the local office is up in Melbourne or Palm Bay. Point is, they recognized that they stepped up, staffed a few more days, but then ran a series, over a period of a year, ran a series of workshops for families. I mean, you're taking advantage of,
Absolutely.
I know you're doing financial education, but there's other folks out there that maybe can help with debt consolidation or whatever they do.
We've buddied up with Habitat for Humanity too, and we utilize their financials. If you've ever looked at the criteria to get a Habitat home, like your financials have to be tight.
Okay.
So we look at those financials and push them into that direction to start thinking that way. We also have different organizations come in. Northern Trust comes in and talks about investing, which is something they've never thought of before because they're living paycheck to paycheck. But I will look into that. I forgot about that place. That's a
I
good
don't
idea.
even know if they still exist, but there's
No, but
probably
they still are there.
somebody out there. They were helpful a long time ago.
Yeah.
And the classes that they were offering, the workshops, which were being done at United Webster's, had an impact. I mean,
But
we're
I
kind of
always-
monitoring that.
I always say that it works because we all case manage, all of us. We had a heck of a day yesterday. All of us were case managing until about 9:00. But I always say, we say it to him over and over again, but sometimes you get somebody from Northern Trust comes in, says the same exact thing we say, and then they're like, that's a great idea. And we're like, so sometimes it's just changing the person that's telling you. Yeah. But I'm a little nervous about how moving forward, especially with Medicaid, and they are cutting SNAP and some of those, that our families rely on it. So hopefully we'll be able to work through that, and we just continue to educate them to make money. We do have a little bit of private funding that is given to us where we can do, if there's a situation where they just can't quite seem to get there and they won't stay in a transitional house, we do have $400 a month we can do rent subsidy for them. There's just a handful. I think we only have 4 right now. But that's also helpful because we can continue. The bottom line is if we can continue to case manage these families, which we try to do for 24 months after they leave, they are more likely to be successful and remain sustainable. We want long-term solutions. We don't want fast, get them out the door. And
Failure.
yeah, which happens a lot.
I wanted to mention, I was at a homeless diversion meeting
Mhm.
at the sheriff's office a couple days ago, and I was quite impressed. It was the first one I'd been at, and I guess it's been going on for a couple of years now, but there was a big round table of different organizations and how everyone is interacting and collaborating and sharing information to manage the homeless, and the numbers are increasing.
They are increasing, and I'm the chair for in my spare time. I'm the chair for the coordinated entry system. So we are rebuilding the HMIS coordinated entry system for the Treasure Coast area to try to make it more streamlined so that other organizations can input into that. The more data we can collect, the better able we're, as agencies, we're able to collaborate. And my favorite takeaway yesterday was Deputy Scott, which is the homeless liaison for the Sheriff's Department, was actually working to get the information he was getting from the homeless camps into the database. And that is extremely important because then we're seeing real numbers and not some one-day count that, you know, half of them are hiding. So I'm extremely excited about that. And in fact, I had a 2-hour meeting this morning about it. I have a great committee that's working with me on that. And it's going to take a little bit of time, but because we're building basically from the ground up and we're not quite 100% sure what the final airplane should look like, but we are getting assistance from HUD on that. And we'll be excited to roll that out sometime middle of next year. We thank you guys for the support for us. And again, if you're in the area, stop by. If you can figure out how to get in the building, we'd love to give you a tour.
You do need better signage at the back door.
We're under construction, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're
Marty.
welcome. Have a good evening.
Take your hat, put it on.
But really,
Yeah, the bangs, there were the bangs.
Yeah,
Can't do it.
there you look very cute.
I heard.
You can stay if you'd like, or if you'd like to move on to other areas. I know you're all busy, you may.
Yeah.
Maybe. Okay, is there any unfinished business? Yeah, I think we're gonna have you speak. Oh,
No. I was waiting for you to say New Horizons, so that's what.
okay. Yes, now new business. Action required. We'd like to hear from Greg Jackson, New Horizons request.
So Dr. Cooney, I think we have Chris Baker here, who's their financial advisor in
Okay.
lieu of Gregory Jackson.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
You're Mr. Baker.
Yes.
Welcome.
Hello, yes, can you hear? Great. Yeah, Greg is at the Florida Behavioral Health Conference this week, so he couldn't make it, so here I am. New Horizons is an organization that goes back many years serving Indian River County, I think back to 1958 or so. And as I think about the strategy that, you know, you're pursuing in terms of making behavioral health services available, certainly reducing financial barriers and filling gaps, I mean, that really describes New Horizons as regards to behavioral health and substance use services. You're currently funding across the continuum of our care, primarily medical services and case management, as well as our mobile response team, and then a little bit of our crisis unit, a little bit of some other services, and a little bit of detox. I think today we wanted to talk about extending our funding for the current fiscal year for the final 2 months, as we're now reached our budget limit, I think, of 200,000 for this current fiscal year. We're requesting respectfully another 50,000 to continue to provide the services that we're doing. We've actually, it wasn't 2 years ago, maybe we were not even meeting our budget, and we've really made an effort to outreach and be available. And we're providing services in 2 different locations, as well as the MRT service. So now we're here, we've expanded, and we're hoping you to recognize that and add to the budget. Any questions?
Any questions from the trustees?
Just a statement in that as we went through the financials, I said you'll see deviation. If you were paying attention, through the end of July, New Horizons was at 99 point something % of their budget. So we knew that they were on the docket today. This doesn't necessarily say, to be honest, after Carrie worked so hard with her committee and got things established, we basically kind of upped our support for them and gave them a lot of leeway in using the dollars as they needed. And some are high, some are low. This doesn't really say specifically where the $50,000 is going to be spent. I don't know that we have to have that, but at the same time, we want to make sure that this request is going to meet you, or, you know, is the number that's going to meet you. You must know, I'm assuming, what areas are
Sure.
going to eat them up.
Primarily, you're funding currently across 5 or 6 different
Yeah.
areas. Primarily where we've exceeded the budget would be in psychiatric
Yeah.
medical services
Yeah.
and case management.
Okay. And
Staff received any spreadsheets or anything on how the money was spent and what they're asking for?
In your packet, they provided a letter with what their unduplicated clients are. I do keep track of what is being spent according to their invoice. And as he alluded, they are over in the med management and
Yeah,
incentive
those-
vows. So it breaks it down by service line, and we just track that every invoice. So I have the numbers back at the office, sorry.
Okay, so you have received, and because I know this just kind of is just a bullet of the
This
different,
kind of outlines though where they've been utilizing the funds. and
okay.
just, you know, breaking it down by case management.
So the
medical
50,000
services.
that they're asking for is going towards,
Their overall budget, because again, they're over on some service lines and under on the other, but I'm assuming that they're projecting that they'll need an additional 50,000 to get through the next 2 months.
Correct.
Yes, I have a question. Just see an increasing trend. I noted in 2023-24, your total budget from here was 98,000, and then for 2005 went up to $200,000.
Yes, we've made a lot of effort in outpatient specifically, increasing availability, increasing resources, and we're seeing demand for those services. Now, in full disclosure, I mean, each year is a different year for us in terms of a lot of our funding also comes from other areas, primarily the state of Florida and the federal government through DCF. And those numbers can change from year to year. So they also, that's the environment in which we live in. But in the current environment, we have been expanding outpatient services, outpatient providers, and doing everything we can to serve the local need.
Great, thank you.
what's your federal funding going to be like this year? Are they supportive? I haven't been following it with the budget.
I mean, at a high level, I think relatively constant, but we are still waiting to hear from our managing entity. And they actually haven't reported on exactly what they have been allocated. So there are some still open questions, but way we are planning right now is relatively constant year to year.
I wanted to reference in regards to Dr. Cooney's comment. One of the big things Carrie and her group who worked hand in hand, you guys were very forthright at the time. We pushed hard for them to get to stand up and run that mobile crisis unit. And I think that almost, in terms of a commitment, that basically doubled what we were doing to go from 100 to 200. I think that was $100,000 line item.
I remember that. That was a very important.
We felt it was critical.
Yes, you're specifically, you're funding into the mobile response team, which we expanded, and you were part of that expansion. But again, that's a year-to-year thing as
Yeah.
well in terms of the budgets that we can find, but it's a, tremendous service for the community.
And you are the only one in the community that provides that?
Yes,
Correct. No.
yes, other than calling, 911,
Yes.
but yes.
Excellent.
Do we need a motion? Is that what?
Yes,
we're
I think we
looking for
need a motion.
I'll make a
Yes.
Motion to provide the funding as stated, 50,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Mackett. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any of those opposed? Thank you. Alan? Aye. All are in agreement. Thank you very much for your work.
Thank you very much.
Agree.
Appreciate it.
Ms. Baker.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. Okay, we also have a request for additional funding from the Visiting Nurse Association, and with us is the Senior Director, Pat Nipper.
Good afternoon, trustees and district staff. Thank you for the opportunity to come here today and talk with you about our need for additional funding. Here with me today is our founder and board member, Anne Marie McChrystal, our board chair for VNA and Hospice Foundation, Carol Kanarak, who is the current board chair, and Michael McGee, who is our incoming board chair for the VNA and Hospice Foundation. So I thank them for being here and for their support. So we are asking for additional funding over our budget. It's 20% over the approved funding that we received for fiscal year 25. We're asking for $169,663.27. And that is for our hospice program, largely attributed to our hospice program, and also for our mobile clinic. We exceeded the funding that was granted to us in our agreement for fiscal year 25, and we have been tracking this over as many months since October and providing update reports to the district on a regular basis as to where we stand with the funding. And so we are anticipating now to have a $68,000 potential need for hospice patients. We do believe that that will decrease significantly. We're asking that to have that available in the event that we do identify any of those patients who do not have insurance, who need routine hospice care, but either don't have a home or don't have a safe environment to receive routine care at home. So we have seen a significant drop in the last several months in that amount of funding. On average, from October to March, we were billing close to $42,000 a month. And that, as you can see, since between April and July has dropped to an average of about $4,000 a month because those patients passed and we haven't identified any of those other patients. However, we never know when a patient like that will present themselves. So we wanted to make sure that we did have enough funding in the event that they did. So that's the hospice program. Does anyone have any questions on hospice before I move on to the mobile clinic?
So Pat, that explains that, and I saw in our financials that I believe there was only $600 charged in July.
Correct, yes. We had just
So you
one
had no-
patient,
Okay.
yes. One room and board day, and that's what that was. And we invoice for hospice days versus patients. In the first 6 months, when we had those much higher billings, we had 25 unduplicated patients who had 498 hospice days of routine care at the hospice house. The majority of it was routine care at the hospice house. There were a few GIP days and some other continuous care days, but most of it was the routine care that I talked about for those patients who don't have a safe environment or don't have a home or couldn't be accepted by a skilled nursing facility because even though they might be Medicaid eligible, at the time, they did not have insurance and they were not getting Medicaid.
Just one more question. If you don't see the potential number of patients you anticipate and those funds are unused, do you move those into your next fiscal year's?
No, they're fee for service, Dr. Mackett. So whatever
So it's
we
just
utilize, we will bill for. And if we don't utilize that funding, then that will be yours. That won't be something that,
It's just a placeholder on.
correct. We're not asking for a lump sum. That's a good way to put it. It's a placeholder. Yes. Any other questions on hospice? Okay. And then for the mobile clinic, which is a much more complex situation because we're not comparing apples to apples relative to what we received under the initial contract in fiscal year 25, which was the district paying for staffing and medical testing and medical supplies. After the budget was approved for the amount of $403,000 and change, we moved to a fee-for-service model, excuse me, which included full home office allocation, all the operations of the mobile clinic, the maintenance, the gas, the operations, repairs, all of that. So there was close to a 60% or higher increase in what was projected for the fee-for-service model, which was $680,000. However, and that was for 3,700 patients. Now we're seeing a lower number of patients. We've had a decrease in about 25% of the patient volume that we are seeing this year. We don't exactly know why, but it's been a bit of a decrease, about 20%. And we are coming in at about 510 versus the possible $680,000 that we thought could be a possibility with the 3,750 patients. So that is about a 25% increase over the original amount that we asked for under the 1/12 payment versus what we are now projecting for billing under the fee-for-service model. So we're projecting approximately $45,000 for each month of July and August and September, because we do a tremendous amount of back to school physicals for the children in these vulnerable areas and so forth. So we anticipate spending more money. But again, that is also billed on a fee for service basis. So if we don't use it, we're just projecting what we might need so that we don't have to come back again and ask for more funding. Any questions on the mobile clinic?
Just one, we noted that other mobile clinics are also noticing a decrease. Is there any underlying reason for less use of mobile clinic? To me, it's very valuable.
It's very valuable, and there's no way of telling sometimes what that volume is going to be, Dr. Cooney. That's a great question. I mean, this is probably some of the lower volume we've seen in the last 3 or 4 years. However, before COVID, we had numbers similar to this. So we really, I think, increased exponentially during and in the immediate aftermath of COVID. We saw a tremendous increase in patients year over year. But now I think it's beginning to stabilize a little bit more. And then we also have more Treasure Coast Community Health, of course, has more facilities, and they've opened up more same-day appointments, as has Whole Family Health. So we're all collaborating together to make sure that we're reaching as many people as we can. So we think it'll stabilize at about 3,000 to 3,500 a year going forward.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
If I could just add, Karen, to your question yesterday about the encounters.
Thank you. You know where my mind was going, right? Yeah.
I did confirm that it is just for the physical screening.
Yeah.
Not any outreach, education.
Yeah. The outreach is just part of what the staff does while they're there on the mobile clinic.
So I'm gonna be mixed up here because you're telling, I've heard that your numbers have decreased, but you're wanting more dollars?
It's decreased from the amount. So again, initially, we got the 403,000 was not based on a full fee-for-service model. So when we asked for more money, it was based on 3,750 projected visits. We're now coming in at the 3,100 visits, if you will. So the increase is from the 403 to the 510, because the 403 was not based on volume. The 403,000 was based on staffing as opposed to a fee for service. That's the
103,000 is what you're talking about when you say 403, right?
correct.
And that was based on program funding rather than fee for service.
That's correct, Karen.
And so if you had done it as a fee for service, you would have asked us for 510,000.
No,
Right,
not
no.
necessarily. No, because at the time we were projecting a higher, we didn't know when we moved to the fee for service, we didn't know what that volume was going to be. And we didn't know if we would have repairs to the mobile clinic. So we put a full fee for service budget together. It was $182 per visit. And so, but it's worked out this way. We've been tracking it on a monthly basis, and this is the way it's playing
What
out.
is it with 182 per service? What is it now then?
It's still 182.
182, okay.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, we're still charging that. And we didn't really have any major increase between fiscal year 25 and fiscal year 26 because now we understand how the fee-for-service model works for the mobile clinic. We didn't have that, at least in my time. We were always a fee-for-service model when the district first asked us at the VNA in 1992 to operate a mobile clinic. We were fee-for-service until the district went to the district care card in 2016. And because there were a lot of issues with that and some problematic when we made that switch, we moved in 2018 when we had the Vulnerable Village Initiative, we moved to the 1/12 payments, but it wasn't based on volume. And now we're back to a fee-for-service based on volume.
And Pat, I would assume that you have plenty of historical data that shows as school starts, you need to ramp up the number of physicals you do, et cetera, et cetera.
We have a lot of historical data, Dr. Mackett, and we can go back for, gosh, just on the electronic tracking alone, we can go back to 2017 and look at month over month how we track, what months are busier for us, what months are maybe not as busy. So yes, we're able to do that. Mhm.
And again, we can, adopt this and because it's fee for service, if it's not used, it's just a placeholder. So.
Thank you very much, Pat. Can we have a motion related to request?
I would move support for the $169,663.
Second.
Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.
Want to thank you all very, very much for this additional support. It really means a lot to us, and I know it means a lot to the community for us to be able to do this. I also wanted to say briefly that this is my last district meeting as a VNA employee. I am leaving the VNA in the middle of September, and I just wanted to say thank you for this incredible opportunity that I had personally to work for the VNA, but also that I had personally to be a representative for the VNA to the district. I thank all of you. I thank Frank and Jenny and the whole team. It's just been a really phenomenal experience to be able to work towards helping people in our community. It's by no means, you see me all the time, but it's by no means a singular effort. There are many people at the VNA behind the scenes that you may not have met, but you will, that you may not have met that are, routinely involved in this. And whether it's looking at unduplicated patients or budgets or things of that nature, there's a big team of us behind the scenes. So I want to acknowledge that as well. And my replacement is going to be Candy Alexander. I know that the district staff has met her. She is a licensed clinical social worker. She is our director for patient experience and social services, and she is a member of the servant leadership team at the Visiting Nurse Association. And I think you'll find that she'll be able to answer a lot of questions and pick up where we all leave off, right? So again, I just want to thank you so much for everything that I've learned from each of you and the experience. I don't want to get too much because I might get emotional, but I just want to say a heartfelt thank you to all of you for everything and for everything that you do and will continue to do. So thank you very much.
Your future endeavors.
Yes, thank you very
A
much.
lot for our
And
community.
Carol and Anne Marie.
Yes.
Am I allowed to say anything?
Sure.
Or do I have to wait?
Wait,
Have to wait.
wait.
For public comment.
Actually,
Jeez, yeah.
we had a vote without a public.
I have to say.
That's true. You did.
We voted twice without public comment, so I think we ought to probably.
Yeah. How do we correct
Yeah.
that? Just ask.
Yes. Please proceed.
Hardly warm. I just have to tell you all, you should be so lucky to have someone involved in your agencies as we have had with Pat Nipper. The VNA, and I've been there for 50 years. We've had wonderful people over the years, and we still do. But with her professionalism, her expertise, her dedication to the mission of the VNA, you think only one person is going to replace her?
Lundy has already got 2 or 3 in line here to help Candy. She's incredible. And we're going to miss her. Sometimes I've been in business too, remember the urology practice as an administrator. And we've had wonderful people in our business. But some people are hard to replace. And Pat isn't going anywhere. I was hoping that she'd wait until but she isn't.
Stop bringing that up.
Right.
Oh, my gosh.
But I want you to know, she's incredible. She's done a great job. And I know Candy knows that, and she's got her work cut out for her. So be gentle and be kind, but we will miss Pat. Just an incredible person. So God bless her, and thank you for working with her.
Thank you, Anne Marie.
Anne Marie.
Is there any more public comment on that subject? Okay, thank you. Okay, now we'll move along to other business and as Paul Westcott, our trustee.
Sure. Thank you, Bill. So this is in the category of due diligence bill best practices. Has nothing to do with whether or not the information we've gotten from the VNA is accurate. What's going on in my brain is they've already done the work. Give that work to an engineer who can look at it and render an opinion for us that's accountable for us as to, and I don't know the lingo. I'm going to use a percentage as a margin of error, if you will. If we find out if the margin of error in terms of our ability to fully develop the property is 5%, okay, we need to explore how to facilitate that process, develop the property, look at the future. If it's wider, in other words, if we've got twice the capacity that we need or whatever, it's a real easy decision. My understanding of this water retention is you can actually be a little fluid, pun intended, about how you account for it. You can build landscape features to incorporate it. You can build over it. So, if we have trouble, then we have an engineer we can talk about so that we're doing everything we can to maximize the use of the property and not inadvertently create a problem for 15 or 20 years from now. And the motion I'm going to be making is that we hire an engineer, but not until after we get the letter from the Water Management District, and then the appropriate engineer to address the questions as to the quantity of storage for us using the information that VNA's probably already worked up is going to be sufficient. So having said all that, I appreciate your indulgence. I move upon the VNA receiving the preliminary approval from the St. John's Water Management District, the Indian River County Hospital District retain an appropriate engineer to assess the implications of the requested water storage easement. That's my motion.
I'll second it for discussion at least. Do we have any idea what the cost will be to hire an engineer and do this? Is it a fairly inexpensive and nominal kind of thing?
I didn't look into Michael, I didn't look into the cost for that yet.
Yeah. And again, this is an area I have no expertise in. And in fact, I misunderstood in the first place when we went through this at that chairman's meeting. I thought in essence, we'd given that, that it was a done deal, that was the step they needed to take. And we said, okay, go do it. And it was done. And until the letter and having a better understanding and nobody's requested an easement, I was a little more informed, but I'm still sort of on the outside looking in.
Generally speaking, they bill like lawyers, as I understand. My son's
Expensive, right?
there's going to be
Not nominal.
No, it's not.
But in this instance, they are going to have the benefit of the work that was already done by the VNA.
Okay, remind me. So the VNA had an engineer because Todd was.
Todd Howder from MBV.
Exactly, and he's a very credible engineer. He gave us all the information, and I know it was representing the VNA, but why would you think that the information would be any different from another engineer?
I didn't feel that I was informed on the margin of error when he left.
And have you
And-
reached out to him and had any other
And
conversation?
additionally, if he has, I don't know that he has. But if he's made a mistake, he has no accountability to us. That's the due diligence part of us doing our job for the taxpayers. And it has nothing, again, no statement of whether or not he did good work. I'm not commenting that way. This has completely everything to do with our due diligence and making sure that we've done our work on behalf of the district with someone who's accountable to us. That's it. That is the driver. Has nothing to do. I have every, the work was done well, and this is just us doing our job in exercising due diligence.
I have a question for Mr. Isley. I think I recall during that presentation by Todd that it was said that Cleveland Clinic verbally said that they were, I guess they were okay with the assessment and it wouldn't impede them for any potential for future growth. Do we have that in writing?
We don't have anything from Cleveland Clinic in writing. I contacted their attorney on May 21st and apprised her that the VNA was going to be bringing this matter before us at the June 18th chairman's meeting, and made her aware of the meeting and the event that she or a representative on behalf of Cleveland Clinic wanted to attend the meeting. I don't believe anyone did attend the meeting, but I did notify her in writing of it, and I did look at the lease. And in looking at the lease section 13, it requires us, the district, to notify the hospital if we're doing anything like this work scope with regards to permit or government entities. It wasn't it's more of a, this is what we're doing, not a, do you approve it or not? That's what the lease requires, and that's in section 13. So I made her aware of it, and I received no objection to it.
And I would be, if we had a letter from Cleveland Clinic, I would be making the same motion, because I still believe it's critical for us to retain somebody to render the opinion on our behalf that is accountable to us as part of our due diligence. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but that's the way I look at it.
And Paul and I have talked about this a little bit. I mean, I don't think you're overthinking it. I just want to make it clear, the only thing that we were asked to do by the VNA was to apply for the permit modification. And so that is the only thing that you approved so far, and that's been done. There hasn't been a request made to us for an easement. Now, will that maybe happen if this is approved? Possibly, but we don't have that request yet. So Paul and I have talked about that. I mean, I just want you to be aware of what you did approve and why. We don't have a request for an easement yet.
So
There
at that
could be
point,
one.
If we, at that point, that if we do get a request from them, then maybe that is when this type of request should happen, that we do the due diligence at that. Why spend the money pre-request?
Right, but I think Paul should clarify what his motion is.
Right. Well, that's the intent, is when, I can't imagine that they've invested to get to this point and they're not going to be making the request, but if
Unless it was denied.
yeah, I mean, that's why the motion is given in such a way that upon them receiving the permission, then we're going to go forward with an engineer if we vote that
So
way.
Can I make a recommendation then? Knowing that they haven't made that request for easement yet, let's not go forward with the engineer at this point. Allow Frank to go ahead and get an idea of what it would cost and what would be involved, and any other information, bring that back to us. And then when the time comes for the easement, then we'd have more information.
I'm fine with that. And my intention was, when the VNA is a go, so that we don't unnecessarily spend money, that we're going to make the request. So there's nothing urgent about this other than if we're going to do it, if, let's say, next week they get the approval, our September meeting, I make the motion and that's what we do. And then we end up with a delay that we impose on them as opposed to staff having the ability to go do it once the approval comes in. So what's been in my mind is don't expend the money until we know that they're going forward, number one. Number two, not delaying their progress because staff will have the authorization once they're notified. That was, because I don't want to delay the work either.
But I would rather, as a trustee, I would rather know what the cost implication would be before I could approve or agree to do that. I would like a little bit more information on that.
Yeah, and if the permit is approved, I would be interested in collaborating with Cleveland Clinic to make sure that we're all agreed that this can go forward as was requested. Because it not only potentially impacts our property and the use of it, the HS building, but potentially could impact Cleveland Clinic.
Absolutely.
We don't, yes, I agree. We need to collaborate with them, but we don't contractually need their consent. We just have to notify them of actions.
We don't need their approval because it's our property. I get that, but.
I will say, Dr. Mackett, I did have this while Barbara was not on the phone, their counsel was not. I did discuss this with Gabe Brooks, their chief operating officer. He called me on her behalf to understand what was happening, and I did explain it to him. So I did have a conversation with Cleveland Clinic on this, but not at the enterprise level.
They've been notified.
And I
Correct,
notified
they're
her
aware.
directly.
Okay.
Ellen
Back in May.
Jones, comment? Question? Ellen?
I agree with Karen's comment. We defer this till we find out how much it costs and until they apply for an easement. So I thought I think what Paul's suggestion is a good idea, but I think we have to defer voting on it for a few weeks.
Couple ways. I mean, we have a motion, it's under discussion. There's three different ways to deal with it. You could table it, you could, but I was gonna say, you can table it, you can postpone to a certain time, or you can postpone indefinitely. I would recommend a motion to postpone to the next meeting. That is much easier to manage and maneuver than a table.
Then I move that we suspend further discussion, or resolution of the motion until our next meeting.
I'd rather not end the discussion. I just wanted to make one other point. If I may.
No, yes, we're still in discussion.
And nobody seconded my motion, so.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Michael did, so we could have discussion. It wasn't.
No, the one I just
What
made.
where he's headed.
But yeah.
Paul, I do appreciate, I mean, again, the due diligence aspect of this rings a bell with me. I'm just cognizant of a couple of other issues where there's been some issues raised. I think it's probably appropriate, and I didn't fully understand it, as I said before, in the first place. But one of the things I do remember you talking about, and I'm not hearing it today, but there's a set of guidelines right now from, say, from the water district and all those people. And one of the arguments you were making is, well, what if that changes in 2 years?
It's built into the motion and the way I discussed it.
Okay.
It's about managing risk and margins.
Okay.
That's why I talked about the margin.
All right.
If our margin is narrow, red flags. If the margin is wide, we can.
Okay, that helps explain for me
That's
why
where my
you
head
did
is.
it the way you did.
It's a way for us to account for those potential changes in the future.
Heard.
Any further discussion?
I made a motion to,
Do you want to withdraw the first motion and make a new motion? Or do you want to vote on that?
it sounds like
You can amend it.
sentiment of the group is to understand the cost.
Right.
So we can't really do anything anyway. So I made the motion to suspend until our next meeting.
You're
and
going to
hope-
amend the first motion you made. You had a motion on the table that was seconded and it was discussed. So either have to vote on that or you need to amend it. Or
I thought we were
withdraw
gonna
it.
Suspend it with the idea that.
That would be the
Frank-
amendment.
That's a new motion, a motion to postpone to a certain time. You gotta do you want to amend your first motion? I just want to make sure,
The
If you want to amend
recommendations
it.
were to postpone.
to a certain
the
time.
Substantive
next-
motion to
Yeah.
the next meeting.
Yes.
By then, we'll have an idea as to how much it's going to cost. and we may even have a decision. So I was just going to leave the motion alone. It seemed easier.
So that's the motion. We're going to postpone the motion to next meeting for further discussion to see if we have a response. And/or.
And an idea about the cost.
And an idea about the cost.
Second.
Now I want to make sure, is this a second motion?
That's what I was trying to say.
No, I followed the recommendations of Jennifer. I would have tabled it myself, but she said that it was going to be easier to suspend. So we're suspending it. So if you vote, as I understand it, if we vote yes on what's going on now, all that's happening is the motion is going to stay pending and it'll appear on next month's agenda for consideration at that time.
But Paul, I think what you need to do is say, I would like to amend my first motion to this motion. It's
And move to
amended.
postpone this
That's what
motion
you're
until
saying.
the next monthly meeting. So you had a motion that was seconded and discussed. That's different than the motion to, you now need to move to postpone the motion until next month's meeting.
I'm not changing the motion, but the substantive motion isn't changed.
Correct, but it hasn't passed. So now we're just moving to postpone that until the
Correct.
next month's meeting.
Correct.
Okay,
That's, yeah. I mean, what am I missing from our discussions?
nothing. It's just
Okay.
a tangle of all the back and forth.
So
So we have
We
the
need
motion to
call-
postpone.
Vote on
the motion to suspend
motion.
consideration or disposition of the motion.
Okay, has that been seconded?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? And the motion carries. Okay,
And Mr. Chairman, on the same other business, this is just a topic. And if I could pick up the phone and talk to Alan without getting in trouble, I would have done that. Because this has to do with the financials from the COVID era. I asked Frank if he could give those numbers to me. And I'm discussing them now because our time is short on dealing with some of the questions we talked about yesterday, specifically what our reserve should be and how much we should cover, and the concern looking historically at COVID. And in looking at what I received from Frank, it looked like from the 2020, 2021 year to the 2021, 22 years, the district was able to carry money forward and even add to the reserves. And I looked at the budget and the expenses, and it looked like the district did a very good job getting through that season and the budget didn't blow up. I share that just because I think the concern that we have about COVID, the experience with COVID, is material, understandable to the conversation. But I'm going to ask Frank if he wouldn't mind distributing the same financial information. And, the reason I would have called Alan is because he was in your chair, Michael, managing this, and is going to have, he's going to be a good resource for us on what these numbers really mean. And I would submit maybe we should add 2022, 2023 as well. And Alan, the reason is just to look at the numbers and I know it had to have been a very trying time for you all. And perhaps when you look at the numbers, you're going to realize what a great job you guys did. So, Alan, looking for you to help us out in understanding the numbers at our next time we get together.
Those budgets online too.
Well, I'll be there for the September 4th meeting. I'm not sure exactly which numbers you're talking about, but my concern about today is the uncertainty about how many people can be eligible for our services and our ability to be prepared for it. So I don't know if that answers your question or not.
It helps, but like I said, understanding the experience that you all went through and what the numbers from that season will be helpful.
So may I add to that? Because during that season, it was not only the hospital district that, participated in providing additional funding, but there was a lot of other funding that came down. I think what where my concern would lie in the future is like Alan has stated, there are a lot of things going on at the federal level that are going to be changing how things are funded, Medicaid, all the different programs. And so I don't know if the COVID era would be a good comparison. I don't think it would be apples to apples. It's different now, and there's going to be different emergencies.
Well, the reason I brought it up with COVID is because in the past and then yesterday, when the subject of how high our reserves are going to be, COVID was used as an
And
explanation.
I was the one that said it. I said COVID, I said hurricanes, there's a multitude, Medicaid, multitude of things that could happen. Hopefully not COVID, but it was the emergency where I was going with it, was the emergency catastrophic situations that we want to have something tucked away in case of those.
Right, and I think we've got a policy of 3 months to address that. And we've got other means as well. I really didn't want to get into a substantive conversation. What I was trying to do is avoid bringing this subject up on September 4th and having anybody feel like they were sandbagged and giving all of us an opportunity to thoroughly look at the numbers and understand them so we could have an informed conversation. So I really wasn't trying to argue any particular point.
Okay.
Thank you, Paul, for.
Yeah.
Okay, any other business from the trustees? Okay, is there any public comment related to proceedings today? Yes, please come forward and identify yourself. And any organization you represent?
Good afternoon. I'm Robin Orzel. I'm the Executive Director with Senior Resource Association Foundation. And first, I want to thank you all for your current and previous support of all of the programs that you have supported over the years at Senior Resource Association. In response to the recent recommendation by the hospital district trustees to reduce funding for and sunset within 3 years the Meals on Wheels program in Indian River County, I would like to address how it is the belief of Senior Resource Association's 125 staff members, 16 members of the SRA and SRA Foundation boards of directors, 239 Meals on Wheels volunteer drivers, as well as 534 Meals on Wheels clients, among others, who believe that Meals on Wheels is indeed at the heart of the district's strategic goals, particularly number 3, developing and implementing high-impact preventive health initiatives. Although the district staff and trustees' evaluation of this program led to a ranking of 4th degree program, we respectfully disagree, and I'm taking this opportunity to highlight findings from a 2023 comprehensive research review conducted by Meals on Wheels America that supports Meals on Wheels as a 3rd degree program, as described in a June 19th memo from Frank Isley to hospital district trustees. A 3rd degree program is focusing on prevention. It addresses the root causes of poor health like chronic disease and behavioral health risk factors. So the case for Meals on Wheels, an evidence-based solution to senior hunger and isolation, is an extensive review of 38 research studies demonstrating the effectiveness of Meals on Wheels in improving food security and diet quality, reducing the use of costly healthcare services, and reducing social isolation and loneliness by examining the impacts Meals on Wheels has on clients' health and well-being, healthcare utilization, and healthcare costs. So first, I would like to address Meals on Wheels as a preventive health initiative. Meals on Wheels sets the standard as an evidence-based program that effectively addresses the issues of senior hunger and isolation while providing a proven significant return on investment in the form of healthcare savings. Food insecure older adults experience worse health outcomes than food secure seniors, with greater risk for high blood pressure, heart attack, diabetes, and depression. They also have the highest rates of social isolation, putting seniors at risk for high blood pressure, anxiety and depression, cognitive decline, and dementia. Falls among seniors are a major healthcare cost at an estimated $50 billion annually. Several studies found evidence of Meals on Wheels helping to reduce falls, particularly among older adults with a history of falling, while also enhancing home safety. This can be attributed to three key factors. Number one, the safety checks provided at meal delivery play a role. Volunteer drivers are trained to keep an eye out for the seniors' well-being and general levels of health. With 56% of Meals on Wheels clients living alone, this factor is critical in helping to reduce emergency visits and hospitalizations. The meals themselves contribute to participant safety by promoting practices that reduce risks, such as minimizing the need for potentially hazardous cooking activities in the kitchen. Participants attributed feeling safer to receiving a dependable, healthy meal. For older adults who were categorized as high risk due to previous falls, a significant reduction in falls was observed among those receiving daily delivered meals. So how does Meals on Wheels impact healthcare costs? Malnutrition among adults age 60.
We have a 5-minute public comment limit. Just want to let you know you got about 2 minutes left.
2 minutes, thank you. Malnutrition among adults age 65 costs healthcare $51.3 billion a year. And after 2 months of meals from a Meals on Wheels program in Florida, the percentage of participants who are malnourished dropped from 34% to 6%, and those with normal nutritional status grew from 8% up to 29%. Several studies have found that Meals on Wheels is associated with reduced use of costly services, particularly showing a decrease in emergency department visits and hospital stays. In one study, participants who received 6 months of meals delivered daily had fewer average ER visits compared to those who did not receive meals at all. Funding shortfalls for Meals on Wheels end up costing the government and taxpayers more due to costly healthcare and long-term care expenses that could have been prevented. Senior malnutrition costs an estimated $51 billion a year. And in Florida, that's estimated to be about $1 billion. Older adult falls cost the U.S. healthcare system $98 billion a year. And for Florida, that comes at approximately $3 billion annually. Unhealthy diet patterns in the U.S. cost an estimated $50.4 billion a year in healthcare costs. And Florida's share is estimated to be in the range of $3 to $5 billion. This comprehensive review of 38 studies, which I am happy to share with anyone who would like to read it, establishes Meals on Wheels as an evidence-supported, preventive, cost-effective solution. The extensive body of research consistently demonstrates the efficacy of Meals on Wheels in reducing healthcare utilization, preventing nursing home admissions, and generating substantial cost savings. These remarkable outcomes are attributed to the profound impact Meals on Wheels has on critical aspects of older adults' well-being, including food security, diet quality, nutritional status, social isolation, loneliness, and falls for home safety. It is important for policymakers and public officials to recognize both the importance of investing in this affordable preventive program and its potential to save federal, state, and county tax dollars that would otherwise be spent on institutional care. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin.
Robin.
Let me comment or ask you a question, Robin. Robin?
Yes.
May I ask you a question?
You may.
So I've been persuaded as a physician more towards Meals on Wheels and its healthy response long-term. But I do have a question about this wellness check that you have volunteers take and the training they have. And is this really a responsible avenue of healthcare support, or?
It is.
Tell me about this.
Our volunteers go through extensive training. And I'm actually someone who has gone through that training, and I am actually someone who has.
Training by whom?
Training by our staff, by our professional staff.
What professional staff?
Yes,
Physicians,
our case
nurses?
managers.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, did that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any others?
Any other questions?
Thank
Robin
you.
can ask. Trustees can ask questions if they wish. Seeing none, okay. Is there any other public comment? Anything online? Kate, no. Seeing no others, the meeting is adjourned.